and just shoots straight up into the air with great speed, is how they say it, and then levels out and goes wherever he wants, and nobody's ever seen him flap his wings.
Exactly. And they say he can go like 300 miles an hour or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know how people are able to
Tell that?
Yeah,
I don't know either.
I mean, it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm driving in my car and he's going a significant amount faster than me, but like that's crazy fast. He just like holds his wings out straight and goes.
So it's a superpower.
I guess. And this will come to play in the theories and later on and all of that stuff, of course.
Of course.
Not to be a tease, but he apparently can fly much faster, as Joe was talking about, than any kind of bird should be able to fly. They say it's like 300 miles an hour, like Joe said. Apparently, Mothman's favorite activity is chasing cars, which is how people are able to tell that he goes 300 miles an hour. I don't know who these crazy people are that are like...
Sounds like a dog.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
it's a dog.
Maybe it's a dog with wings. That would make sense, kind of, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No?
But
okay.
he also likes to try to tear the roofs off and get people inside. Those tasty morsels inside.
They're just like they're moving anchovy tins.
I know.
In some versions, he doesn't have arms. I know I said he has arms. I think he has arms. Lots of the pictures that I've seen, the renderings I've seen, he does have arms. But some versions say he doesn't have arms and he just has wings with like no palms or fingers or hands or anything like that. So he's like futilely trying. Is futilely the right word?
Futilely?
Fueling?
Futilely? I don't know.
Futilely?
Grammar's never been our strong suit.
Futilely or...
trying to tear the roof off of cars with like no hands or palms. That sounds funny to me. So
he's not very smart.
Yeah, so in the stories of him trying to rip car roofs off, I'm willing to like say he doesn't have arms just for the pure humor of it.
I will go with that.
All right. So here's how the story goes. You guys ready?
Yep.
Really cuddle up to the fire this time. Do it.
Yeah.
You guys doing it?
I'm scared.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
On November 12th, 1966, 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery, which is already totally normal sauce.
It's kind of a lot of guys to dig a grave.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot, doesn't it?
It's a union job.
Well, okay, yeah.
Guess.
We're city workers.
Yeah, maybe. They were in western West Virginia. They claim to have seen a man-like figure flying low from tree to tree overhead. And this is the widely accepted as the first sighting of Mothman.
Do we have a time of when that was supposed to have happened?
No.
Probably daylight. People don't usually dig graves at night unless they're robbing them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's my question, because
that will pertain later.
Yeah.
But all of the other sightings that I've heard of happened at night. So
this could have happened at twilight, say.
Yeah.
I guess it could have been the end of the shift.
Yeah.
I can buy that.
Who knows? Maybe they were.
It's November, so it gets dark early. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll run with that.
Okay. Then, on November 15th of the same year, 2 young couples who were doing total normal things in an area of Point Pleasant.
Lover's Lane?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were at
They were Lover's Lane,
They were at the
essentially.
creepy TNT factory northeast of town.
That's actually,
yeah.
yes, that's actually true. It was the TNT. It was known as the TNT area, which is the site of former World War II munitions plant. They were hanging out there for totally normal reasons, and then reported to police that they saw a large white creature whose eyes glowed red when the car headlights picked them up, so they reflected. They didn't glow. I'm just going to go ahead and like make that edit right now. As a reasonable human being, if you shine a light at something and it reflects that light, it's reflecting, not glowing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like a cat.
Yeah. Or any animal or like just any animal. Even human eyes reflect light to some extent.
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not red, but yeah. Most
Hopefully not
animals.
red.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Who knows? Depending on the person. During the next few days, a lot of other people started to report sightings. 2 volunteer firefighters said that they saw a large bird with red eyes. A Mason County sheriff said that he thought the sightings were due to an unusually large heron that he nicknamed a shapepoke.
I don't know how that's pronounced.
I've read that a couple of times. I Googled that word and I couldn't find anything.
I'm going to say
for it.
shite poke.
That's
Shite
probably
poke?
the
Okay.
PC way to say it.
Chipotle?
Chipotle?
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
the origins.
So herons do get quite large, actually, by the way.
Some of them do, and we can talk about that a little bit later. The largest herons get, I think it was 16.
They get like a 6 or 7 foot wingspan.
Yeah.
Oh, easily, yeah.
But those herons only live in South Africa.
Oh,
So, probably not that, but maybe.
let's got loose from a zoo or something. But
maybe,
yeah,
possibly. We'll talk about that in a minute. Contractor Newell Partridge, that's how you'd say that, right? Newell? Told this Mason County sheriff, whose name is George Johnson, that when he aimed a flashlight at the creature in fields nearby his house, they glowed, the eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors. And also said that there were some buzzing noises from his television set that were caused by this animal, and that his German Shepherd dog definitely disappeared because of this creature.
I'm going to guess this guy's TV antenna was made out of tinfoil.
That'd be-
That's probably what it was.
Yeah. Wildlife biologist named Dr. Smith from West Virginia University told reporters that he thought that all of the sightings fit the description of a sandhill crane, which is the largest American crane, which can get almost 7 foot wingspan, and they have reddish coloring around their eyes. Bird may have... that's not its typical migration route, but birds wander sometimes. They aren't they're not
Sometimes,
confined by rules.
sometimes you get an insane bird too. They have
Sometimes
a,
you do.
So maybe he was a little nuts and just sort of like lost, or maybe his friends ditched him on the migration south.
And this is where having timestamps on these would be really helpful, because, and we'll talk about this when we start talking about the theories, but I have some problems with the idea that it's a heron, given a lot of the inferred times, I guess, that these sightings were happening. Mostly I infer that these were happening at night because everybody says, oh, when I shined my flashlight, the eyes glowed.
That's a reasonable presumption.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty
it's-
reasonable.
And it's a lot easier to mistake, like, say, a heron or a crane for, a guy with wings at night. You're not really going to do that during the day.
Absolutely it is. And then this kind of tragic thing happened. This bridge called the Silver Bridge, which was in Point Pleasant, I believe.
Yeah. So what's the river there? Is it the Ohio River or what?
Mississippi? No, it was the Ohio River.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm thinking about a different bridge collapse that we'll talk about again later.
Yeah.
No, it was the Ohio River. It caused the death of 46 people. It collapsed on December 15th, 1967. And right after the bridge collapsed, Mothman sightings essentially ceased. There are a lot of... I guess I should rephrase that. I'm going to rephrase it to say generally accepted sightings of Mothman ceased. There are a lot of sightings since then, but almost all of them are brushed off as hoaxes or crazy people or somebody, falling for a prank or things like that. I'm about to say your very favorite word in this entire world, Steve.
What's
Ufologist.
Ugh.
Ufologist.
Ufologist Jerome Clark has written a lot about Mothman, and he says that for many years after the kind of initial events, that first 16 months, I guess, it was about 16 months, members of the Ohio UFO Investigation League re-interviewed everybody who had seen the Mothman or claimed to have seen the Mothman, all of whom insisted that their stories were accurate.
Of course they did.
Yeah, and there was a woman named Linda Scarberry. You're welcome for that last name. She claimed that she and her husband had seen the Mothman hundreds of times, sometimes at close range, commenting, "It seemed like it didn't want to hurt you, it just wanted to communicate with you."
Well, most likely. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of dead people. Of course, maybe he engineered the bridge collapse.
Well, I'm sorry. I really have a hard time when somebody is suddenly saying, "Oh yeah, he hangs out at my place all the time.
Yeah.
We try to chat." I've got to discount that perspective.
I agree.
It's just too easy.
I agree. There's a cryptozoologist named Lauren Coleman who did a bunch of re-interviewing of witnesses that had been interviewed for a book that we'll talk about in a minute. he re-interviewed a bunch of the witnesses and said that the sightings of Mothman kind of continue today, and that the Mothman was a huge creature about 7 feet tall with huge wings and red eyes, and they could see the creature flapping right behind them as they fled.
So these are the witnesses are saying this.
Yeah, and
the
apparently
witnesses
they say that Mothman did flap his wings.
Yeah, that's a little departure there.
Yeah, which weren't in the original interviews,
Okay.
apparently.
The
I'll be
stories don't
honest.
change over time. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, the truth doesn't change over time, really, but yeah.
No, never.
There have also been a lot of sightings of cryptids that could be described in a very similar way to Mothman, just worldwide. And in I guess the most interesting way that these sightings correlate with the Point Pleasant sightings is that they herald kind of big disasters. For instance,
Impending doom?
yeah, there were Mothman sightings or Mothman-like creatures sighted pretty close to right before Chernobyl had the meltdown. There were Mothman sightings right before a mine collapse in Germany. Two of the less popular incidences, which is one of the ones that I was thinking of earlier, was that there was a Mothman or Mothman-like cryptid sighted before the I-35 bridge in Minnesota collapsed on August 1st, 2007. That was the one that went over the Mississippi River, sorry. So that bridge collapsed, and there were apparently reported sightings of Mothman or Mothman-like creature around that time. As apparently there were also 2 pictures taken on 9/11 that were of Mothman or a Mothman-like creature.
Okay, I gotta stop here.
Okay.
So, I'm presuming that you've kind of gone through these photos that are of Mothman at these events. Mm-hmm. Have you seen these, Joe?
Mm-hmm. They don't look like much.
They're way off in the distance, and they're blurry spots. The bridge collapse. There's this protruding dark spot on a collapsing bridge.
Weird.
Which, I'm
Totally
sorry,
Mothman.
is probably a part of the bridge breaking away, not a creature hanging out on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely.
I don't want to poo-poo this, but you know, this makes me think a lot of the Watchers in that show Fringe. There's the guys who watch all these events, and so it's okay. So the Mothmen or the moth creatures watch all these events, and they're the harbingers, and they're there to witness them all. I mean, that's kind of where this makes me think it's going. But okay, I can see how people do that, except none of the photos show anything to me.
Yeah, well, I think, one of the interesting things is that it's actually been proven that the quote-unquote Mothman sighting near Chernobyl was just totally made up on the internet.
Oh, yeah, that was
Totally
bunk.
made up. And I think, many of the other ones likely were as well. And I guess that takes us pretty nicely into theories, because I guess there are only really 2 theories here, and that can kind of spread into the rest of the sightings. It's either that the Mothman is real or the Mothman is not real.
Now, the Mothman, again, some descriptions of him at least, and most of them actually, he doesn't appear to have a head. It's like he's got shoulders, and then he's got his 2 glowing eyes are like kind of set in his chest, correct?
Yeah, the swing shoulder thing is higher than head level, I guess, is kind of the way the face is lower. That's why they call it Mothman, right? Is because it doesn't look like he's like a man with a head and wings that come out of his shoulders. It looks like his head is down on his body more, like where you would put moth's head would be.
Well, yeah, if you look at a moth, their torso extends, and then it actually ends, but you can't really tell that from a little bit of ways because their neck is the same size, and so they look like one kind of cylindrical thing with big eyeballs on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so I can see what that...
Kind of like an owl, too.
Yeah, an owl is a great analogy as well.
An owl is a great analogy as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to just go ahead and hop into those theories?
Let's do it.
May as well.
Sure.
And there are a lot of theories out there about Mothman, of course, as I'm sure all of you know, if you're even mildly into cryptids of any kind. Mothman's kind of the starter cryptid for a lot of people, I feel. But we're just gonna do some of them. The thing, of course, the top contenders. Of course, we can't do all of them. And as I said, we're gonna break them into 2 different sections. Either Mothman is real or Mothman is not real. Okay? And
Okay.
the lines do get a little fuzzy here.
Okay.
But just bear with me. Just doesn't matter. Anyways, okay, the first Mothman is real theory. Mothman is real and an alien. Yeah.
That makes
Actually,
sense.
this is really interesting. So, Lauren Coleman, that zoologist, do you remember?
Yeah.
Who went around re-interviewing,
The
quote unquote,
cryptozoologist.
people. I'm sorry, the cryptozoologist.
That's better.
Who went around re-interviewing people, was actually re-interviewing people that were described as being interviewed in this book written by a man named John Keel. He wrote it in 1975. It's called The Mothman Prophecies. And it laid out a lot of investigation. It was spattered deeply with a lot of personal theories. There was a movie made of it.
With Richard Gere.
With Richard Gere. I know
Oh,
Steve
I never saw it.
really,
Richard
really wants
Gere.
to talk about Richard Gere. He's in love with him, apparently. I don't know what's going on here.
I
But,
actually am Richard Gere.
oh, no. I didn't know. But Keel has a lot of theories about UFO sightings. Apparently, there were, strange lights seen around.
Oh, I do remember something about lights in the sky at the same time.
Yeah, and he thought pretty strongly that Mothman was indeed an alien. Okay,
Well, anyway, the alien theory is my favorite theory.
it is.
Yeah, well, it explains a lot.
I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of like the next theory.
Okay, the next theory?
It's that Mothman is actually a mutated bird.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So actually, it turns out that you remember that TNT factory,
Yeah.
the place, or what did they call it, the TNT
Lover's
spot
Lane?
or whatever. It was Lover's Lane.
Makeout
So
point.
It was the old World War II munitions storage area,
So it's a hot spot.
which, as it turns out, was evidently a bird sanctuary prior to that.
Well, afterwards, too. I
And
think.
afterwards.
And also, it was declared, I don't remember exactly when, but it was declared a Superfund site at one point.
You're kidding. I didn't
Of course
see
it
that.
was.
Yeah.
I didn't
it
see
was.
that either.
No, it was.
That's- you know, that's
remember,
where-
I don't remember where I saw that, but yeah, apparently it was declared a Superfund
Where
site.
young teens in the 60s went to make out.
I know.
So apparently, since it was a Superfund site and a bird sanctuary, if you just mix
This
those
just
two
disgusts
together-
me.
It's just, I mean, honestly, that is an origin story. Legitimately, I'm sure that I've read that in a comic book somewhere, right? I'm sure that's how Hawkman was formed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
sure of it.
Yeah.
So the fact that this could be some kind of mutated bird over the years, it's not that much of a stretch.
Well, actually, it kind of
This
is.
was Hawkman, apparently. No,
Okay.
listen, okay, I understand that he wasn't ever...
Stanley was in the area.
Yeah, and he said, he had a one-liner that was, totally off topic, just so that he could be in it. It was
Okay,
perfect.
continue on with this.
No,
before
I
we
mean, okay.
devolve anymore.
And to be fair, yes, I'm sure Joe's gonna do the naysaying, he never flapped his wings and he
Yeah.
could take off really fast. So whatever.
Well, he mutated
Hawkman
it.
could too. It's fine, doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. So the bird mutated into a really huge bird with red glowing eyes, and so
Well, I don't see.
Yeah.
The thing is I'm
and
not
a
so
hatred
sold.
for human beings.
Well, I'm
and
not.
cars.
yeah,
I'm not sold on the glowing eyes thing. I really I
Yeah.
think all of the descriptions were that they were reflective, and lots of things glow red when you shine something. I mean, cat's eyes do that all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
we talked about that already. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm not. I mean, I don't think that that's so much of a problem for me.
Okay.
but no, but the trouble with the mutation theory is that it's that exposure to chemicals can cause mutations, but those typically manifest as cancer, not as magic properties and sudden changes in your size. You just-
Excuse me.
yeah.
Those chemicals don't automatically equate to getting it doesn't just automatically, woof, something new automatically evolves. That's
But
the
over
problem.
over generations and decades of breeding in a bird sanctuary that also is a Superfund site,
So why isn't the Mothman actually at Chernobyl if that's the case?
because it wasn't a bird sanctuary.
Well, yeah, but there's lots
Okay.
of radiation, so yeah.
I give.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I mean,
My logic is just foolproof.
Baffled me.
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I mean,
Bamboozled.
mutation is a normal part of the of the whole process of evolution. That's how it works.
Joe, just let me have my fun.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Okay, next theory: Mothman is real and actually a different kind of cryptid, or the other kind of cryptid is it. It's hard to tell. People.
He's a car.
Yeah, he's actually a transformer.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people have suggested that Mothman actually might be a thunderbird from Native American lore.
Look, it's a car. It's a wine.
Or that
it's Mothman.
Or that. I'm just gonna keep talking here.
Okay.
Or that thunderbirds were actually Mothman. I'm not totally clear on which way. But lifted from Wikipedia, the plural thunderbirds could shapeshift into human form by tilting back their beaks like a mask and removing their feathers as if they were feather-covered blankets. There are stories of thunderbirds in human form marrying into human families, and some families can trace their lineage to such an event. This, of course, would mean that Mothman would date to the 1600s, if not earlier, or that Mothman is a type of animal. It's like a classification, not
like a
one single
super
thing.
shy creature that we rarely see.
Kind of like
Bigfoot.
the leopards and stuff that live in the mountains that are seen once every 30 years or something. Is that what you're getting at?
Or Bigfoot, yeah.
Oh,
Some sort of Bigfoot-like creature.
Totally.
Maybe Bigfoot got exposed to all these chemicals and he mutated.
Well, maybe it was.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense, yeah. I'm not really sold on this whole, like, Thunderbird. Thunderbirds are pretty much accepted as lore, even by the people who perpetuate the myth. I mean...
Yeah, well, back eons ago, in places like New Zealand, I think here, too, in the U.S., there were enormous eagles and things like that. I mean... There were, like in New Zealand, animals that were big enough to carry away a child.
Yeah,
we still kind of, like California condors are huge.
Yeah.
And they're like not even that big compared to how big birds used to be. Certainly that existed. Does it anymore? Would it be confused with Mothman in the 60s? I don't know.
And I was going to say is that if we're going to go down the Thunderbird route, that is a legend that was passed down in an oral tradition for who knows how many hundreds of years. It's kind of like when we were talking about the progress into the New World, and that there would be some prehistoric creatures like mammoths and stuff like that. So there's big, large creatures around, and then the stories, and they probably weren't as big as they were described, but of course, as with all good lore, it evolves. So it goes from a 5 or 10 foot wide wingspan to a 30-foot wingspan over time as the story evolves. So I can see how that could be a story. I have a hard time with it wrapping into the Mothman.
I agree. So two things I don't want to discuss, but I just want to say. Also, maybe it's maybe Mothman is an angel, or also maybe a dude with wings, because that's different than an angel.
The angels from Doctor Who?
No.
What kind of angel?
The biblical kind of angel.
Yeah, like biblical angels.
Are we
not
talking...
like weeping angels.
Okay, so we're talking like scary Old Testament angels, or are we talking like It's a Beautiful Life
benevolent,
angels?
Yeah.
Benevolent kind of thing?
Or it's a dude with wings.
Right, which again is different.
A guy in a flying suit.
Well, actually, okay, may as well just talk about that now. That's actually dude in a flying suit, or with a personal flight suit, is in my Mothman is a hoax / not real theories.
Oh, see, I was going a dude with wings.
Yeah.
Actual wings.
Right, and I don't
Which is Hawkman, which we've already talked about.
Okay.
Okay, so a personal flight suit.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess, like, for me, I'm willing to jump down this rabbit hole, to use a term that we use, like, all the time, apparently.
Probably overused.
We definitely do.
Yeah.
Except for evidently.
But
that gets overused a lot here, too.
We evidently use just evidently too much. I actually really like this theory. If I can get over the, like, 1960s, the technology probably didn't exist, especially for, like, semi-silent, pretty quiet flight. That's the, like, kind of crux of this whole argument.
Are you talking like what they refer to as the squirrel suit?
No,
flight suit?
Like wings with propulsion systems.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
just making sure, not like the glider, the guys who do the base jumps with the squirrel suit.
No. This would have had to have a propulsion system because he took off.
Yeah, and also
Very good point.
it was silent, so some sort of
Or at least
some
quiet.
sort of alien. Yeah, some sort of I'm thinking some sort of alien anti-gravity technology.
Something
possibly.
like that, maybe. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that
possible.
probably it's alien in origin, and the military got a hold of the alien and mugged him and took his special suit and
Yeah.
dressed up one of their test pilots in it.
Yeah, I like the idea that unknown technology, flight suit, totally testing. People are jerks. They're gonna mess with people sometimes. Also, things like night vision goggles that glow red. So
They
if you're
do have the
testing
red
at
lens.
night, they have the red lenses. So if you were to flash lights at somebody wearing those, they would maybe reflect red. I don't know. It makes sense to me. Again, we talked about this a little bit, but we'll talk about it some more. Very large heron.
Yeah, really. I mean, herons do get pretty big. But,
They do, but they aren't super nocturnal, especially not super nocturnal like chasing cars.
yeah, they're not known for that.
Actually,
Okay.
here's the thing about birds. The majority of birds have no night vision. That's why birds roost at night, is they can't see at
Right.
night. So let's just suppose that there is a bird roosting somewhere and it gets disturbed, and I've got a bird, and if it's dark and he gets loose, he freaks out and he flies around like a crazy creature, running into things because he can't see where he's going, and he goes for the one spot of light. So I could see, let's just propose that there's one of these herons, and I can't remember, what is the name of the heron with the big red circles around its eye? That's
Oh, that was a sandhill crane.
Yeah.
okay, it's a crane. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was calling it a heron, but a crane.
Same thing.
Essentially, if something spooks it from where it is roosting or sleeping, and its automatic reaction is to get away and fly, it then can't see where the heck it's going, so it's gonna go to a point of light where it can see to land, which would explain why it was following a car. Totally explain it. It was a bird.
It could have just been a really, really huge owl too. 'cause they
That
can
was
see
the
at
other
night.
thing.
They
yeah.
can see at night.
And they do. The other thing about owls that's like super interesting is, especially like barn owls. Like if it was a really large barn owl, for instance, they have those legs that like look kind of like tiny men legs.
They're
Yeah.
stubby.
Yeah.
They're a little stubby, but they are also kind of thicker. Or at least with all the feathers and stuff, they do kind of look like little dude legs, and they look kind of furry a little bit. And, I haven't done my research on how big certain owls get, but if it was a particularly large owl, and
They
people
can
were
have like
seeing
5+
it,
feet.
well, and
Yeah,
if
they
people
can
were
be
seeing
huge.
it at a distance, and it just happened to be in that area, I think that the idea of it being a barn owl could make a lot of sense. They fly
Or-
so silently.
Or a great horned owl, they get even bigger. And
Yeah.
and for both of those owls, they appear to have no heads. It's like
Yeah.
their torso just segues completely up, and they're sort of square.
Just
top-
like a moth.
Top. Yeah, just like that. Yeah. And another support for the series, this is a little known fact, but that couple that was chased down Highway 62 in 1966, they were driving a Volkswagen Rabbit. Okay, I made that up.
He made that up. He made it up, but it was good.
Yeah,
it was
good.
good. No, I mean, I like that theory probably the best. And then the last theory is that it was just a hoax. It was a hoax, and it probably was just a hoax.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I'm-
that I'm willing to say that like that first sighting probably happened. They were tired. There were 5 of them.
Well, they'd probably
it was
been
getting
drinking,
dark. They'd
yeah.
probably been drinking a little bit. They saw probably an owl or something that was pretty large fly. They weren't used to seeing. That's kind of the time of year where things are migrating. It's totally possible a bird was migrating through there. They saw it go past the corner of their eye, and one of them was like, "Oh, dude, did you see that?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it looked super creepy. It looked like a dude flying.
Yeah.
We should get out of here because it's creepy already because it's dark and we're in a cemetery and we're digging a grave. Let's get out of here." They told somebody about it. These kids were out at the TNT place or whatever they call it. Got also probably spooked by the same animals, close enough, that or they didn't and they just like freaked themselves out. So I mean, I think it's really easy for somebody to either say, hey, I want to be cool and have seen the Mothman, so oh crap, I saw the Mothman and this is my story, or a bunch of teenagers or whatever being jerks and going out and dressing up like the Mothman and creeping a bunch of people out. It's equally easy that it could just be like a whole mix of a bunch of that stuff, and then the rest is history.
Do you know the thing is, what I expected to find in the research of the theories on this and the explanations and disclaimers and all of that, but I never saw mass hysteria.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the hoax idea.
Right, but as the, on the detractor side of the Mothman is real, I expected to find something that talked about it was mass hysteria, because mass hysteria is typically a bunch of people in the same area all begin to believe very seriously that they're seeing the same event or experiencing the same thing. And that can go on for a while, and I could see, the story ends very abruptly with that bridge collapse.
Yeah.
Which is a huge, shocking tragedy, which would really rattle that continued thing that people were, quote unquote, experiencing that whole time.
That's the thing. It's like, they lived in a very small town. I don't know if you've gone and looked at Point Pleasant on Google Maps.
But I bet Joe has. Preview.
Yeah. It's a really small town, not a lot going on, and I could see where something like this would become kind of a fad. Not necessarily mass hysteria, but just something kind of fun to break the monotony. And I can see where a lot of people would sort of get in on the act. And then, of course, it all ended with the collapse of the bridge, because suddenly this whole thing was just knocked out of everybody's minds, because you have this huge tragedy, and suddenly this silly Mothman stuff just seemed kind of pointless and stupid when you have this massive die-off of so many people that you knew.
I guess my argument against the mass hysteria thing would be that to explain Mothman sightings as mass hysteria would be the same as trying to explain most UFO sightings as mass hysteria.
Well, but the caveat is that this is in such a small area.
In a very small window of time.
Very small window of time, whereas UFOs tend to be spread over a wider geographical area.
Yeah, I don't have the sense that the sightings were so rampant that the legitimate, quote-unquote legitimate sightings were so rampant that it would be attributed to mass hysteria. I think it was a handful of people.
And I guess to make mass hysteria be a valid theory, we would have to accept all of the reports during that time frame, which we've them.
I don't think there really were that many reports, actually. I think a lot of them have been just sort of tacked on over the years.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
so,
I'll buy into that.
With that, that's the end of the theories. We've talked about my favorite, which is the flight suit, somehow. Also, mutated bird.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think it's a combination aliens and flight suit.
Okay. Alien technology, flight suit. Got it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I really buy into the bird theory, whether it be a crane or an owl or whatever. I think that's more likely it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not mutated, just a regular bird.
Yeah, actually, I think most likely that actually is probably what really
hunting
happened.
a VW rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can find links to some of our research on our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You might be listening to us there. You probably are not, but you might be. If you are, or you happen to visit it to check out the links, there's a little survey on the right-hand side. Obviously, I've taken it so many times that I totally know where it is. It's, just a little quick, I think it's less than 5 minutes survey.
Yeah, it's a simple thing.
So if you fill that out, we'd greatly appreciate it. You are probably listening to us on iTunes. That would be my guess. If you are, leave us a comment and a rating.
Please.
How other people find us and like us and become new avid listeners. You can also stream us on Stitcher. Maybe. You might not be hearing this part if you're on Stitcher.
Theoretically, this has been
Theoretically,
at this point.
Who knows? We don't really know what's going on there. Apologies all around. If you are listening to Stitcher and this is the first time that you've heard this little bit, apologies all around.
Congratulations on getting to hear this part.
Congratulations. We have a